Hello everybody and welcome to me and Stephen Jensen predicting AEW Full Gear. So enjoy and I will speak to you soon. So how you doing today, Stephen?
I'm doing great, Anthony. A chill day, doing some writing, doing some editing, listening to some stuff on eBay today, and got the Twitch stream tonight for Fightful Gaming. So looking forward to that with Joel Pearl. But I'm happy to be back on here with you, Anthony. It's always good to talk to you, man. Thanks for having me back.
No worries, mate. Pleasure to have you. Why not come get in the card? What do you think? What do you think about the overall show?
Oh, dude, last night, yeah, Dynamite was like, so the overall card for Full Gear, I'm very excited for, but I think they did a really good job last night on Dynamite, really selling a lot of the matches, like the Punk and Kingston stuff. I think has been like perfect, like that whole build, even though it's only been like 3 weeks long, the way that they're deep diving in that story and they keep trying to get at each other. I liked, even though it seemed rushed, I liked the contract signing at the end, and all that good stuff. Our DMs.
Oh, sorry.
You okay? Nothing embarrassing there. But yeah, I liked the whole build up. I liked the 6-woman tag match. I thought that was good. Like really everything about the show last night, even the inner circle getting beat down. I thought Dan Lambert putting Chris Jericho in the walls of Jericho and explaining the history of the Boston Crab was like brilliant. Like, so there was like a lot of really good stuff last night, and I'm missing plenty, but I think they did a great job last night with Dynamite building the pay-per-view. We got Rampage tomorrow night, and then yeah, I'm super pumped up for Full Gear. I think it's going to be an awesome pay-per-view.
I funny last night was the first time I really enjoyed the inner circle American Top Team stuff, and it was the first time Chris Jericho did not speak on the mic.
Yeah, I was about to say the your favorite part about this feud so far was them getting their butts kicked yesterday, huh?
Yeah, and I loved hearing from Scorpio Sky and even Cage.
Yeah, yeah, it's making them look good. You know, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky seem a little out of place, like in the American Top Team lore, if you will. But it makes a lot of sense because they were also the guys chosen to wrestle Sting and Darby. They're like super reliable, and it's going to be like you can't fully rely on Junior Dos Santos, Andre Arlovsky, and Dan Lambert to like carry a match. So it's like it's really smart to have Page and Scorpio Sky involved. And look, I think this is gonna. I think both Scorpio and Ethan are gonna both. I think they're gonna have a good little tag run coming out of this, but I also think they're gonna be big singles wrestlers too.
Would
So
you put the tag team titles on them or?
I don't know, not right now. I wouldn't, only because the division is so stacked, and I think the Lucha Bros are like the perfect tag team champions right now. I think there's people out there that think that FTR could win this weekend, and it's possible, but like I think Ethan Page and Scorpio are just a couple steps kind of below the tippy top of that division. But with the right story, the right build, getting some big wins, like Page and Scorpio, I think have the talent to potentially be the tag champions one day, but I don't think it would really be anytime soon.
So do, so do you think it'll be like a bit like Tay Conti, where you really know she's not going to win the belt, but she's just a solid opponent? Would you put it like that?
I'd put it exactly like that. Yeah, I think you're right on the money. Like, because Tay Conti, I think she's a future AEW women's world champion for sure. But it's just going to be a minute because you got Britt Baker, and then you have some others in the division that are just ranked just kind of a little bit higher. And then, of course, you have the whole TBS title tournament happening right now. And, I think myself and most of us think that Jade Cargill will probably be the one that's like really heavily highlighted throughout that and probably win the whole thing. So I'd say Conti, but it's a great spot to be in for Conti. She's a solid opponent. The match is going to be really good. It's predictable that everyone's expecting Britt to win, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because, like we talked about before, like Britt just she needs solid wins to solidify her title run, and there's nothing wrong with Tay Conti being in that spot.
And I think the match last night would bring it from a story perspective. And obviously, it wasn't the best match in the world, like from a technical standpoint. But it did what it needed to do. At least in my opinion, it built up the match quite nicely.
Are you talking about the 6-woman match last night?
Yeah,
exactly. It was a showcase of the baby faces. Really, was what that was. I felt like, which is what you want. I mean, Tay Conti got. I always mess up her name. Is it Tay or Ty? I'm awful at every single time. It's spelled like Tay, so I always say Tay.
I wouldn't worry about it. I thought a lot of people's names, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Sure. So, but it was cool to see Conti, like, you know, she went around. I thought it was cool. She like went around the ring, like doing the pump kicks and stuff. Like, she looked really good. And I thought it was smart to have her and Anna Jay and, who was Thunder Rosa.
But yeah, you got it.
Having them all dress similar, I thought was smart. Like, I like when baby faces do that. And Thunder Rosa had that really nice crossbody splash to the outside that like just splat on the outside from the top rope. I thought that was really nice. So I liked it. The match, like you said, Anthony, the match itself wasn't like some super competitive, like classic, 6-woman tag, but I think it did a really good job highlighting who it was meant to highlight.
And obviously, we all say we want the women in particular to get more time. But I think last night they got the right amount of time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the thing with the women in AEW, and this is not meant at all to be like a dig or anything negative at all, because there's a lot of talk about that with AEW, that they want more women featured on the show and they want the women to have more time. And I totally see where those people are coming from. And I agree to an extent. Like, I think that like they're getting to the point now where like, I think we will be seeing more women highlighted on the show, especially with the TBS title and everything. But AEW, like, fans need to keep it in perspective. AEW didn't have the luxury when they started of having like Charlotte Flairs and Becky Lynch's and Asuka's and Sasha Banks's and like all these kind, like they started with like as far as actual star power, their women's division, they really needed to build it. And they've been building it, in my opinion, pretty well over the last couple of years. And now it's getting to a point where it's like Britt Baker's the perfect champion. You have all these up and comers. You have Jade Cargill, who you can tell is going to be a big star. You have a lot of Thunder Rosa. So I think Serena Deeb is the best female wrestler in the world right now. Personally, you got her. Like, you have access to all these great women now, and the women that weren't quite ready before are becoming ready now. So like, I think that's going to be happening more. Because I don't like hearing people complain about the amount of time women get for those reasons. Because like, I can tell that it's coming. They just needed to establish a lot of these women because they didn't start off with all of these stars like the WWE has. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with that. Also, you have to take into consideration because Ring of Honor's hiatus. They can have load of good women talent available to be picked up. So AEW could pick up even more talent.
I agree, especially because of the Forbidden Door. So with Ring of Honor, I think Roxy, for instance, would be like a shoe-in to come over to AEW. And then you have like Impact Wrestling recently signed Masha Slamovich, and I know the news just came out, but I'll give it to this show, even though most people have to go to FightfulSelect.com and pay for this news. But why am I blanking? Lady Frost just signed with Impact Wrestling. So if AEW, and of course they have Serena Deeb, or sorry, they already have Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering, and they got a lot of great women in Impact. So if they can utilize the Forbidden Door more, that was the one big I guess issue that I had with the Forbidden Door, is that it hasn't been used yet to bring women from Impact into AEW. And they have so many good women that would be great on AEW that I don't know why they didn't do that. And I feel like there's still a lot of opportunity there for that.
And I personally think people like Trish would be really good in either Impact or AEW personally.
Yes. Yeah. I can't believe I didn't bring her name up. She's probably my favorite. She's my favorite female in Ring of Honor, and she's one of my favorite overall wrestlers on the indies. Like, I think Trish Adora is money. I think that's one of the things of these silver linings about, there's a lot of cruddy stuff that has to do with Ring of Honor, right? Like, nobody likes seeing people lose their jobs and the guaranteed paychecks, and they have families, and I totally get all that. But like, there are silver linings in some of these, because like Trish Adora is going to wind up being a way bigger star now in another company outside of Ring of Honor, because the talent's there, and she's also great with intergender wrestling, which like you don't see that much on mainstream TV, but she's like really, really good at it. So she can literally wrestle anybody. So Anthony, I think that's a great shot right there. Trish Adora is awesome.
Before we move on to the AEW card, I just wanted to put this to you, because I've always thought this, but I've not actually seen it on camera before. Do you think Impact Wrestling would be more popular if it was just an all women's promotion?
That's hard to say. I don't hate the idea though. Like, they have enough talent and they could get more. Especially like you said with Ring of Honor, like whatever situation they're in right now with them taking a hiatus and like releasing everyone out of contract. I think like if they could get access to Trish Adora and Roxy and Miranda Alizé, and like there's a lot of good wrestlers that they can get, that they have access. And then there's still wrestlers on the indies that are still, got wrestlers like Alley Catch, for instance, that like, she's really more so GCW, but that doesn't mean she couldn't also pop up other places. So there's like, so let me put it this way. I don't think it would be the worst idea for them to do that. I don't know what you would do with the male talent, I guess, but that's the thing too. We could have a whole 3-hour conversation on just how I feel about Impact Wrestling, because like they have so much young untapped talent that still hasn't been like properly pushed on the male side and the female side. But when they got guys like Ace Austin and Chris Bay and Willie Mack and Josh Alexander and Trey Miguel, and like the list goes on of like people that still haven't even hit their full potential, like I think there's a lot of opportunity for them in Impact still. But if they were to pivot to an all-female show, I think there's enough female talent there that they could fill full shows with just women. So I guess yes and no. It's like I want the male talent to succeed that's there, but if they did pivot to a fully female show, I think they'd be able to pull it off.
And not only because in front of the camera, behind the camera, you obviously have people like Gail and Mickey James, and even you can bring in somebody like Maria Kanellis.
Yeah, for sure. And Maria Kanellis she's I always hear about how like great of a mind she is for wrestling. Like Paul Heyman, for instance, I remember years ago, because I was pretty surprised by it, and I'll never forget him saying it. He was talking about how if he was to start his own wrestling company again, like if he got another chance with like ECW or whatever company, and he was in charge, one of the first signings he said he would make would be Maria Kanellis to help him with the creative, which I was like, I had no idea that she was like that well known, I guess, is like being really, really good as far as like behind the scenes and booking stuff and story ideas and all that. So like, and then of course, Mike Bennett, the two of them, I think, are a really good act together on screen. I think they both mutually benefit from each other. So yeah, I think Kanellis is somebody, and you got to see her in National Wrestling Alliance and stuff like it. She's I think she's a name definitely worth bringing up for sure, Anthony.
I've never found Mike Bennett that interesting, to be honest. He's a good in-ring talent. It never really stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. That's why I was kind of so surprised that Heyman brought her up in that interview I was talking about, because he was talking about people that like I'd expect him to talk about. And then he was like, yeah, like Maria Kanellis would be one of my first. And I was like, really, Maria Kanellis? Like I never would have really thought that based on her on screen, like you said. Like her in ring is fine, but she isn't really much of a character. She's just like a really attractive woman. Like you know what I mean? There's not really much of like a character there with her.
Okay, but I was speaking of Mike Kanellis. Did I say Maria? My apologies, I meant Mike.
Oh, okay. Well, he's in the same boat, I think. So with Mike Kanellis, I really like his tag team with Matt Taven. I think that's really good, but I don't like Mike Kanellis that much as a singles wrestler. So I'm with you there. And Maria, like I said, there's nothing wrong with Maria at all. Like she looks great. She's very good in the ring. Once again, very good behind the scenes apparently. But she never really got like a super strong push as a singles wrestler either. You know what I mean? Like she was never really like that spotlighted as like the face of like a division or anything like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So let's move on to AEW Full Gear. Now, to be honest, I'm not really interested in the buy-in. Do you have any feelings on the buy-in or?
The buy-in is Nyla and Nyla and Jamie Hayter against Shida and Thunder Rosa. Yeah, not a whole lot of interest. I mean, I'd prefer Shida and Thunder Rosa to win. I guess if I was to have like an option of who I'd like to see win that match. I just think there's more talent on that side of the spectrum, but not really like pumped up for the match. I mean, although it's good to see Thunder Rosa on the show because like she's so good.
I mean, on Thunder Rosa and Jamie Hayter are they facing one another in the next round of the TBS tournament?
That's a good question. I think so. And that would totally make sense. And Shida and Nyla might be also because I think both of them advanced and they've wrestled each other for the title and stuff.
So why not do the tournament? Why not do the tournament matches on the buy-in rather than the pointless tag team match?
You're right. That's a good question. I guess maybe they just felt like they didn't have enough time to do two single, but I mean, they could have just chose two of these women instead of four. I mean, you're right about that too. They could have just done Thunder Rosa and Jamie Hayter, and yeah, it would have meant a lot more than a tag team match. I'm with you.
Yeah. I forgot the feeling that the tournament is only supposed to be on TV for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like they can really do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anyone would have complained if this was on the buy-in. But I'm sure it'll be a good match. Like, because the buy-in matches generally, they show out. Like, I think the buy-in match it was either the last pay-per-view or the one before was Serena Deeb versus, was it Deeb versus Thunder Rosa, maybe? And it was like, I think that's what it was. And it was really, really good. I just remember Serena Deeb looking great, and I think it was against Thunder Rosa. I just can't remember. But they generally have really good buy-in matches, or they'll do like the Battle Royal or something like that. But I'm gonna look right now to see if I can find the match I'm trying to think of. It was really, really good. Now I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was Serena Deeb and Riho. That's what it was. Serena Deeb
that was a good one.
That was on Double or Nothing. So it was two pay-per-views ago. So shout out to that. That was a great buy-in match.
Yeah. But when it comes to this one, I'm just not feeling it. With all due respect to the lady involved, I'm just not feeling this one.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take Shida and Thunder Rosa as my prediction, though, as far as like an official prediction.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The last thing I'm gonna say on it feels like it should be on Rampage. It feels like a Rampage match to me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I think they'll start off the main card with Punk versus Eddie. That's what I think will open up. So I personally think this has been the best one week. Well, not really 1 week. It feels like it, but it's been the best build up for a short feud I've ever seen.
I agree. Yeah, especially because it was started by Kingston just walking in on one of Punk's interviews, like usually that's such like a non thing, like it's like usually not a big deal. And what they've done with that in the way that, I mean, because like 2 weeks ago, I guess technically like a week ago, when they did the in ring where like Punk really Kingston really dug into Punk about like their history in Ring of Honor, was bringing up Samoa Joe and Danielson and all that stuff. I was like, this is incredible stuff. Like, this is blurring the lines in the best way possible in wrestling, where like there's a lot of realism there's a lot of real thoughts and words being said in this, but it's being done to sell a fake fight. But they're making it come off like it's pretty damn real, a lot of this stuff. And they want to keep getting at each other. You have to keep getting pulled apart by people. It looks like a real fight is going down at Full Gear. So I agree with you, Anthony. For something that has only been built for the last like 3 weeks, this is the best 3-week build I've ever seen for anything like ever in wrestling.
And somebody said it. I can't remember who it was, so my apologies. I think it was Louis Dangle. Basically, he said it reminded him of the Punk John Cena rivalry in terms of you have the big established name in CM Punk versus the underdog Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, of course, Louis, compared this to something that the WWE did. But I love Louis. I think he's a good guy and he's a good sport.
Of course.
All love, dude. No, for real. Like, I like that guy a lot. He's just very, he's just very young. I mean, there's really no other way of putting it. Like, he has a different perspective than a lot of us because he's like 19 or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm 33. I think Sean Ross Sapp, he's like 34, 35, like we're right around the same age. Like most of Jeremy Lambert, we're all kind of around the same age.
Yeah.
So like we just have a totally different perspective. But Louis out there doing his thing, and he's doing great work, especially for his age, like the spot he's in. So, but no, I thought it was funny you brought him up as like comparing it to something the WWE did. It's like, of course Louis did.
But I did tend to agree with him in the sense because AEW are obviously very high up Punk, and I'm not saying in storyline it seems like they completely disregard Eddie in storyline.
Yeah, no, I agree with the comparison. Like I think it makes sense. And then like as far as the match itself though, like I think everyone's expecting Punk to win, and I do too. Like I'm picking CM Punk because Eddie Kingston, the way that AEW's booked him and the way that he continues to keep himself over on the microphone, as long as he's having solid matches, nobody cares if he's winning or losing. Like, and he loses most of his big feuds. So I expect Punk to win the match, but like I'm really looking forward to this. And if Kingston somehow got the win, like that would be gigantic.
And yeah, I would agree with Punk winning. But another thing that I really like, I like it when the wrestlers say, I don't really care about winning or losing. I just want to hurt you. Yes,
exactly. And part of this too that's interesting to me, and they didn't go there, but like I thought they were going to. At some point, somebody's gonna have to bring up CM Punk's UFC career. Like it's gonna happen at some point. And I thought it was gonna be Eddie Kingston. I thought he was gonna be like, bro, like you're gonna talk about fighting me. Like we see what it looks like when you actually fight people. You know what I mean? But like they didn't go there. I think MJF will eventually. If they ever do MJF and CM Punk, I think MJF will tear into his UFC career. Because it's strange to me that like not strange, but it's interesting to me. They have like American Top Team and Lambert and all this MMA influence on the show. They've never once like really mentioned CM Punk in the UFC. So
do you really want to know? Because CM Punk the only person that I can remember that was tickled in the octagon.
Yeah, that's. And the thing with that, Anthony, and I love that you follow MMA also because we can talk about this stuff and like you totally get what I'm talking about. Like, so when I talk to non MMA fans about CM Punk's run, they just don't get it. Like they don't understand like the level he was at. And because a lot of them still want him using like MMA moves and all this stuff. And it's like, you can do that. I get it. Like, here's the thing. I'll preface everything I'm about to say. CM Punk has gigantic balls for fighting in the UFC. Like, he knew where his skill set was at. He was apparently getting destroyed in the gym. Like, he knew it was probably not going to go well for him in the octagon, but he had the balls to actually go in there and actually fight people. So, like, I'm not taking anything away from him from that perspective.
Yeah.
But like you just said, Anthony, what people don't really realize is, you know, CM Punk was so bad that CM Punk's definitely the worst UFC fighter of all time, easily. The second worst UFC fighter of all time, Michael Jackson, like actual name Michael Jackson, for those of you who don't know, he, like Anthony said, he held CM Punk down and tickled him. Like the second worst fighter was still so much better than he was, that he held him down and tickled him. He, at one point, he had him full mount on the ground. He was waving to the crowd and looking at the crowd and using his other hand to punch Punk in the face while he was looking at and waving at the crowd. I mean, it was embarrassing. But once again, he had the balls to do it. I'm giving him credit for that. But like, I love how you brought that up. Like he did get tickled in a UFC fight.
When it comes to this match about Punk, I don't really mind if CM Punk uses MMA moves, because I don't expect Eddie Kingston to really train MMA. Like, if you know what I mean. Obviously, somebody like Aga all day long, CM Punk should not be doing MMA, not be doing submissions on Aga. But somebody like Eddie, I don't really mind it, because I don't know whether Eddie trains MMA or not.
Yes, so I do know Eddie's a lifelong fan, and I think he trains a little bit, but I totally with you. Like, if CM Punk was doing this stuff to like a Jake Hager, like you just said, it wouldn't make any sense. If he went in there and went toe to toe with like Jorge Masvidal and like AEW or something, it wouldn't make any sense. But but Eddie Kingston, because here's the thing: the one thing CM Punk's gonna have in his chamber, like a bullet ready to shoot at any time, is the person who brings it up, whether it be Eddie Kingston or MJF or anybody. At some point, someone's gonna bring up, like, bro, you got to stop acting like a tough guy. Like, we've seen what it looks like when you fight people. He's always gonna have it in the chamber of like, yeah, but I actually had the balls to fight people for real. Like, you never got in the octagon, and I did. So like, he's always gonna at least have that. And in a fight with Eddie Kingston, I'm with you, Anthony, because if he's using spinning back fists and anaconda vices and all this stuff against Eddie Kingston, that I think makes sense. But what I don't like is when CM Punk's on commentary, for instance, and like, I remember there was a match. I can't remember who the match was.
Yeah, but I know what you're gonna say. I don't like it either when he gives analysis on something. Like when he was in the cage, he got caught with it. I'm like, dude, you got caught with it.
Yeah, he was talking about how somebody didn't understand how to defend a rear naked choke, and I was like, bro, you got choked out with a rear naked choke. Like, you don't know how to defend a rear naked choke. What are you talking about? But yeah, no, dude, Anthony, we're on the same page here. Like, you know what I'm about to say before I say it. I love that.
So just to clarify, you're going with Punk.
I'm going with Punk. Yeah.
And I'm going with Punk as well. I would like it if anyone, but let's be realistic. Punk is winning.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. We'd all love for Eddie Kingston to win, but I just don't see it happening. They got to roll with Punk.
So Trey Conti versus Britt Baker, as we've already spoken, like, this match is pretty much unanimously Britt Baker.
Yes, just like what we said before, this is going to be a solid title defense. I think it's going to be a really good match. I think Conti's stock is going to rise, even though she's going to lose this match, and it's going to help solidify Britt Baker as an even better champion. So I think it's a win all the way across the board, and I think the predictable outcome, once again, is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, getting the W.
I personally think Jay Cargill will be a good second TBS champion after Jay Cargill.
I could see that too. I'm interested to see what they do with that TBS title because I'd like for it to be similar to the X Division title on Impact, where you could like cash it in like at some point during the year or something. Because I think it'd be really cool if like Jade won the TBS title and then just stayed undefeated for like another 6 months or whatever, and then she could trade in the title for a shot at the world title or something, because that way she could stay undefeated going into the world title match. The only thing I don't like about mid-card titles sometimes, Anthony, is when like you in like the WWE, like you lose the US title and then your next feud is for the world title. Like I don't like that you just lost the mid-card title and now you're getting a shot at the main title. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely understand. Just to let you know, even though I'm not looking at the camera, I'm listening to what you're saying, so don't worry about that.
I'm not worried about that. No worries at all.
Okay. So, just very quickly on Jay Cargill, the Samoa Joe in 2005, where she becomes so dominant that the crowd just start to go with her as a babyface.
Yeah, I think that will happen because she has a lot of charisma. I mean, I think I told you before. I met her in person the other week, and she just looks like a star, dude. Like you see her in the grocery store, and it's like that's a athlete or something. She is a star, and she's somebody. And I think the crowd will eventually. Hopefully they slow burn it, like they really let her be a heel until like they have to make the change. But I think they will eventually turn her babyface because she will get super over.
Or you know what, you don't even technically turn the babyface. You just you just let her do all the same things, but just do them to other heels. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's actually the best way of doing it for like almost everybody, I think. Like it's the classic Stone Cold Steve Austin booking where like he was never a true babyface. He just started fighting heels. And the same kind of thing with like John Moxley to a degree in AEW and stuff. Like I'm with you 100%, Anthony. Like because that's the thing. Why change what got you so over? Just have you do that against people that they hate more than you, you know?
Not to really focus on WWE, but in hindsight, that's when they went wrong with John Cena. He got overdoing one particular thing, and then they tried to retcon all of that and turn him into Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, they did that. What got him so over was the thugonomics and the whole rapper character and everything, and being edgy and stuff. And then they basically tried to turn him into the next Hulk Hogan. And then it got really polarizing. That's when you started getting a lot of the mixed reaction. Whereas before he was getting mainly he was just like you said, Anthony. He was a heel character that started getting cheered because people liked what he was doing so much. And then instead of just staying with that, he became like the next Hulk Hogan, basically.
Yes. So can we move on, or do you want to add anything else to the women's title match?
Nope, I think it's going to be really good, but I think it's pretty clear that Britt will get the win.
So the next one I want to speak about is the Jurassic Express and Christian versus the Super Click in our full Count Anywhere match.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, thanks. So I think the match is going to be awesome. I like everybody involved. I think Christian is like really damn solid. Like he just always, it almost sounds like a negative, but he's just a good hand. He just is like every match he has is going to be solid. He's going to come up with cool ideas. Everything's going to look good. It's going to look crisp. Jungle Boy, you can tell they're grooming to be like, he's going to be the AEW world champion one day. It'll probably be a few years down the line, but like massive plans for him. Luchasaurus is always going to have a spot somewhere with his size and his look and how different he is and his move set. And then the Super Click, three of the best wrestlers in the world. Like for my money, it's debatable. There's other teams out there, of course, that you could bring up, but I think Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, are the best tag team in the world right now. And Adam Cole is one of my top 3 or 5 favorite wrestlers in all of wrestling. So like I in the Falls Count Anywhere, you know, the Young Bucks are going to be doing like dives off like the monitor or the Titantron stuff, and Adam Cole will probably do a Panama Sunrise off like a ladder. So I think this is going to be nasty. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. But my only criticism is after this match, I want them to leave each other alone. I don't mind if they want to do a solo Christian versus Adam Cole rival feud. I don't mind that, but I just don't want to see any more of the three-way feuding, if you know what I mean, like groups of free feuding for a little bit.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel like this should probably be it for a minute after this match. And I'd imagine the Super Click will win. I think at some point they'll turn Christian heel and it'll be him and Jungle Boy. But probably after they do Adam Cole and Christian singles. Like they have so many options coming out of this. But like I said, I think the Super Click will win the match. But I think this match is going to be really, really good. And I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff that comes out of this feud, like after this is all said and done.
Yeah, I feel it feels like I'm just agreeing with you, but I can't lie. I feel like the Super Click are gonna get the win. Also, and I just want to say this while we're on the topic. I really like what they did on Dynamite with Bobby Fish.
Yes, that was awesome, dude. So I saw Kyle O'Reilly was trending on Twitter last night because of that, which is amazing because that's the big question now is like, is he gonna, I mean, the reports are that his contract's up next month. So like, I mean, I'm just saying what an awesome possibility here for, you could potentially have Red Dragon, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. You can have the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and then you got Adam Cole in the middle of this, and he's got to choose which side he's on. Does he go to the Undisputed Era guys, or does he stay with his Super Click guys, the Mount Rushmore guys? Like, I think there's so much cool stuff they can do with that.
You could do three big feuds. You could do I don't know what you call them, but the Undisputed Era versus the A-League, obviously Kenny Omega and the Bucks. But you could also do you could do the Super Click versus Red Dragon and a certain Kevin Steen.
Exactly. So that's the whole other thing. Kevin Steen, everyone's expecting to be in AEW by like January or February, I think. So like, because I really want to see Mount Rushmore reunite in AEW. Like, I'd love to see the Young Bucks, Adam Cole, and Kevin Steen as a group. But once again, like, because all these wrestlers we're talking about, for the most part, are still in the prime of their career. So, like, a lot of, not like in particular with this conversation, but like I see a lot of times where people are like, I want to see them do this or that or this or that. And they get like upset when something doesn't happen. And I'm always thinking, like, we're talking about people in like their late 20s, early 30s. Like, everything we're talking about could happen. It's just some of the stuff might take a few years, but like they have literally like 5 years worth of feuds between the people we just said that they can do. So awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And there's no rush for Mount Rushmore, no pun intended.
Yes, you're very right. They can let that. See, that's the thing too with AEW. This isn't to be like anti-WWE, but like I can non-ironically say with AEW, let it play out. Like, because like they actually have long-term plans. So just let it play out if you're an AEW fan. Like, I promise you, like, I say this all the time. If we're talking about it, Tony Khan is also thinking of, like, he's like us. Like, he is thinking of the same things we're thinking of. So,
can I just put it? Why did they do Red Dragon and Kevin Steen with Kenny Omega? I know it sounds a bit weird, but I think AEW could make it work. That's the combination nobody's really saying.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that'd be pretty random. Well, not really random, but but like you said, if AEW would figure out a way to make it make sense. So I'm with you.
Yeah, so you'll probably hear from Mac. I don't think it'll be Mac of the night or anything like that, but it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be an awesome. I mean, this will be there's no way this won't be good. But like you said, it probably won't be the match of the night, but like, who knows? I mean, the Young Bucks are always out to steal the show. So like, man, I'm really looking forward to that one.
So then we have the Lucha Brothers versus FTR for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Do you mind if I go first on this one?
No, not at all. Go ahead.
I think this match is going to be a sleeper match of the night. You know, because obviously FTR are really talented. The Lucha Brothers are amazing. And I'm just really looking forward to this one.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, we're not finished. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I said in my earlier predictions that I did by myself. I wanted FTR to win, and I still want them to win. But I personally, if I'm being smart about it, it's probably gonna be Lucha Brothers. If I'm being smart. But I want FTR to win.
Yeah, so I mean, two of the best tag teams in the world. I think the smarter pick, like you said, I think is the Lucha Bros. But you can't go wrong either way. Like, these are two incredible tag teams, literally two of the best tag teams in the entire world right now. I do think the Lucha Brothers get the win here for a couple reasons. One being that they're still pretty new as the tag team champions, and they made a really, really big deal about them winning the belts. Like when they had like the Mikey Ruckus live entrance, which I thought was incredible. And them winning in the cage and everything. Like, so I feel like the Lucha Bros are still a lot to do with them as the tag team champions, and they're super over. Like if you go to AEW shows live, like they are, because I get annoyed by the Cerro Miedo thing. I think it's fine to do like a couple times, but when he's doing it like over and over and like people reversing his moves because he can't stop doing the damn thing, like, but to his credit, the crowd does it with him every single time. Like every time he does it, the crowd gets loud.
Sorry, are you finished? I don't want to cut you off. Have you got any more to say? Because I didn't want to. I apologize for cutting you off, mate. Do you want to say anything else?
Oh, no, you don't have to apologize for that. Like, not at all. I would say basically my last thing I'd really say about it is that I think the Lucha Bros will win because they're new to the titles, and also the FTR beating them for the AAA titles pretty recently. I think Lucha Bros kind of need to get that win back. And I really want to see what FTR does in Mexico with the AAA titles, because that's going to be a lot of fun to see. Like these guys who don't do any lucha stuff, don't do any flips or anything going down there, they're going to get a ton of heat, which I think is going to be really cool. But go ahead, Anthony. I want to know what you have to say about the match.
It wasn't really about the match, to be honest. I was going to say, would you like to see FTR? Obviously, they're a great tag team, but would you like to see a solo run from Stats Harwood? Because I would, after that night, I think it can be a good TBS. No, not TBS. TNT champion.
That'd be strange if you went after the TBS title, wouldn't it? But yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is just another great example of AEW just like thinking a little out of the box and just letting. It's kind of like WCW, like when WCW is really good. Whereas like in WWE, once again, I only make the comparison because they're like the standard for all of this and what people are used to and everything. You wouldn't see something like this on WWE TV, like a solid like 10 to 15 minute match with a tag team guy, like that's mainly only does tag team matches, go out there and get that much shine as a singles guy, almost beat one of your top singles wrestlers in Pac. And that's not to say Cash Wheeler couldn't possibly do the same thing. We just haven't seen him get like the same chance yet. But like, I'm with you 100%, Anthony. If they wanted to give Dax a good singles run, I think he would totally succeed. I mean, that match with Pac last night was great.
So somebody said this, and I can't remember who said it. So my apologies for not giving the person credit. but somebody said that they reminded him of Arn Anderson in WCW with the TV title.
Yeah, that great comparison.
As I said, I don't know who said it, but I heard somebody say it, and it sounded pretty cool. So I just thought I'll bring it up. So credit to whoever said it.
Yes, whoever said that, we give you credit for that totally makes sense. Like we're both on board. Hopefully whoever said that hears this, and we'll give them proper credit if you hear us talking about this.
Because just as a quick sign, I hate it when people say things that other people have said, but then it's quite obvious that that's where they got it from, and they never give that person credit at all. So that's so that's why I always like to mention people when I say things like that, just to give them the proper credit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm the same way. Like I did that the other day actually. It was actually about the idea of like it was the same kind of thing. So Alex Pulowski is who I was trying to think of, and somebody watching like knew who I was talking about, so I was able to give the credit. But it was the same kind of idea that I was just kind of talking about with Adam Cole having to choose between the Young Bucks and FTR, the Young Bucks and Red Dragon. And Alex said on Twitter, like what they should do is have Red Dragon come in and attack the Young Bucks like after a match or something, and then Adam Cole runs out, and that's when he has to make that decision. Is like right on the spot, like, do you stop the beatdown or do you join the beatdown? So, but to your point, Anthony, I was talking about that on the show the other day, and I was like, I did the same thing as you. I was like, I know I saw somebody on Twitter talking about this. I can't remember who it was. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, let me know so I give the credit. And somebody in the chat was like, Alex Pulaski said that. I was like, that was totally you said that. Credit to Alex Pulaski. So, I'm with you, man.
So moving on. The inner circle versus American Top Team, I think it's basically a street fight, isn't it, or some sort of match like that. I can't remember the actual name of the match.
The Minneapolis street fight is what they're calling it.
Oh yeah, thank you. So I personally think this match would be a lot better if they had. I think this match would be a lot better if they had Craig Spencer in there with a female member of the inner circle. I just think it could be a lot better like that. But I understand when I needed to have Dan Lambert in there.
Yeah, so you were saying you'd rather have Paige Van Zandt involved in the match, but she did great on the microphone, and I mean she's getting over for sure.
Yeah, because they spent all these weeks speaking up Kate Van Zandt, and she's not even involved in the match. I'm sure she will get involved, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think she'll definitely get involved. She'll probably punch Jericho in the balls or something really hard. I think this match will be better than what people expect, because the track record kind of speaks for itself when it comes to Jericho and this kind of stuff. Like, because like the stadium stampedes and all that kind of stuff in Blood and Guts, I think that stuff, there was some stuff about them that didn't go great, but for the most part, the response was generally positive, I think, from the audience. And I know Jericho like loved the stadium stampede match and all that, the first stadium stampede and all that stuff. So like, I have a lot of faith that the people involved will make this really good. I think Dan Lambert, being a lifelong hardcore fan of professional wrestling, like this is his lifelong dream happening. So like he's going to want it to be as good as it can be. And like I said before, I thought that last night, Dan Lambert putting Chris Jericho in the walls of Jericho and explaining the history of the Boston Crab while I was putting him in it, like that was so good. Like that was so good. So I think the finish of the match is going to be Jericho making Lambert tap out to the Lion Tamer. So like that's how I expect it to go down. So I think the Inner Circle will win, and that'll be them kind of getting their revenge on Lambert.
Which obviously it's supposed to be a serious segment, yeah. But I just thought it was hilarious. It's probably the first time I've ever had a positive reaction to this rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Anthony. Do you think that, I know it's a little harder to know now because, I know that Jorge Masvidal had to pull out of his fight with Leon Edwards because he's got an injury.
Yeah.
But do you think that they're going to do Jericho versus Masvidal one-on-one whenever Masvidal's healthy?
If I'm being realistic, yeah. Because why wouldn't you? Obviously, Chris Jericho got the mainstream appeal from all the big years in, obviously, WWE. And Masvidal was one of the biggest stars in UFC and MMA, period. So, yeah, even though I don't really want to see it, I just think at this point in the career, the less I see of Jericho, the better. Like, in the ring, if he wants to be a manager, that's fine. At this point, I don't really want to see him in the ring.
Yeah, I know you're not alone. I disagree. I respectfully disagree. I love Chris Jericho, so I want to keep seeing it. I want to see him go until he can't go anymore. But we'll agree to disagree there. But I do totally agree that we're going to see Jorge Masvidal versus Chris Jericho one-on-one.
But don't you think he should have enough self-respect for his career, not to ruin his legacy? We don't want him to be like the Undertaker where he can barely perform.
I agree. I just think Jericho is pretty far off from that still. Like, I think because in big matches, he still could rise to the occasion. But there's a lot of unlikable things about Chris Jericho that I understand. Fans have differing opinions of him for sure. And no, to answer your question, Anthony, no, I don't want to see him ruin his legacy. Like, I don't want to see him hang on too long. I just think he's still performing at a pretty high level. But that's just me personally.
And I think it doesn't help being with Sammy Guevara and Pride and Powerful, really young guy, and he looked like the granddad just dragging along. Like if he was by himself, I don't think it would be as bad. But because it's with young guys, and to get into the point where it just feels like it's the Chris Jericho show.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I do think they'll kind of branch more off after this. Like, after this American Top Team stuff is done, and also this is, of course, pending, Masvidal's availability. Because it's kind of similar to when, they thought they were going to get Chris Jericho versus Mike Tyson before the pandemic and everything, and all those plans changed. But I think that we'll get more of Jericho as a singles wrestler with Hager as his bodyguard. And that'll let Sammy kind of do his own thing. Or maybe you keep maybe keep Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz kind of together as like a trio. And Santana and Ortiz, they focus more on the tag belt. Sammy's got the TNT title. Maybe they go after the trios titles whenever those eventually, surface and everything. So I'm with you. Jericho's probably better off not around all this young talent in a group. He's probably better off on his own or with Hager.
Let me ask you something. In 2021, what do you enjoy about Chris Jericho as the performer in the ring? Is it just because of the nostalgia, or is it something that you actually like from Chris Jericho 2021?
That's a good question. So a lot of it has to do with, he's my favorite wrestler of all time. So part of it is like the fact that I still get to watch him is cool to me. Cause like, I think it's going to be one of those things where like when he's gone, cause like when he took his breaks, I was always bummed out. I was always like in like the early 2000s, like 2005, when he, took a couple of years off and And then he was like kind of coming and going for a while. I was always like, man, I wish Jericho was still around. And it's just really cool to see a guy like him have the career he's had in ECW, WCW, WWF, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW. Like, and the fact that he can stay over in all of these companies, I just think it's just kind of it's something that we're not really going to, I shouldn't say we're not going to see again, but like I don't know if we've ever really seen something like this before. And I think he's still like, do I like the Judas effect as a finishing move? No. Like, because I don't like he's off balance. Me and you have seen too much MMA. We know what a John Jones spinning back elbow looks like. We know what Chris Jericho's spinning back elbow looks like.
And all I'm gonna say, like, it's not supposed to be a slow. It's not supposed to be a slow maneuver. It's supposed to be snappy, and it's supposed to be instant. It's not supposed to be a thing. It's not supposed to be a thing where it takes half an hour to connect.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. And so, and also like part of it is like he falls over a lot of the time when he does it. Like he's not in balance and stuff. But it's just, to me, really, it's more so just the idea that Chris Jericho at 51 years old, given the career he's had, is still out there, still contributing the way that he is. That's what I really, really like about it. I think he was the right person as well to be the first AEW world champion, because what I think a lot of people don't fully understand too, and I got to see it firsthand, when AEW was in Atlanta right before the pandemic, I brought like 10 of my friends to AEW, and they also would come to WWE shows with me and stuff, but they're not wrestling fans. They just go when it's in town. And if I like say it's going to be really good, they're like, all right, we'll get, we'll get tickets and go with you. And when we went to AEW, one of the first things they said, they were like, wait, Jericho's in this? They were like, this has to be a real company then. They were like, they thought it was just going to be a bunch of people they'd never seen before. But like just them having Chris Jericho, like immediately gave them credibility to like a casual viewer that he was a part of the show. So this must be a real wrestling company. So I think there's a lot of that's built in with Jericho for me. And yeah, so it's just me personally. I also understand the line of thinking. Like there's a lot of people that don't want to see him anymore. And I understand it, but I think there's still a place for him as of right now.
Last thing I would say before I get onto my official prediction for this match, I just don't want to see the Y2J stuff anymore. I want him to act his age, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I I just feel like that's always, I think part of what makes Chris Jericho is that he's always trying to stay hip. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how old he gets, he's gonna try to figure out what like the hype beasts are into, and like Gen Z and like the millennial. Like he's always gonna try to figure out what is cool to the younger generation. Because one thing I feel like everyone has to give him credit for is that he pivots his character so often, but he always does it at the right time. Like he's very good at being able to sense when something is going to stop being over. And he'll like the List of Jericho, for instance, like he stopped doing that while it was still like super over. Like there was like stuff, the Y2J character was still super over. Him as like the Nick Bockwinkel heel and everything was like, it was still over, but like he's good at like getting out of something before it starts going downhill and then reinventing himself with something new to just continue to stay relevant. But like you said, Anthony, it is funny though, because the way that he talks in some of these promos, you can tell he went to like Urban Dictionary or something. He's like, hello, fellow kids. You know, what's the cool thing that y'all are talking about? Because I'm going to talk about it too. You know what I mean?
And I don't think anybody can try to defend some of these cheap jokes, if you know what I mean. We all know what I'm speaking like.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So moving on to the actual match, I just really want to see a good performance for Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. And I don't really like Scorpio Sky. I just think he's boring, but I would rather see Scorpio Sky than Jericho having a spotlight in this match. Or something like that, or somebody like that.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately for you, Anthony, I think that so much of this is built around Jericho making Dan Lambert tap out that, like, I think that's what it's going to come down to. But I think everyone else is going to get a lot of shine. And maybe this also helps set up Guevara's, next big TNT title match. Like, maybe it's him versus Ethan Page or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Before we move on to that match, yeah, how do you feel like Scorpio Sky? Because he's good in the ring for me, but you just feel like, okay, you're not really giving me much else. I liked him in the FCU, but when he's been with either Page or by himself, he just comes across like very much second fiddle.
I totally agree. And I think part of that too is, like, I just think Ethan Page has just a lot more charisma. So, like, the two of them next to each other, Ethan Page is always just going to shine more, in my opinion. So I'm with you. I think it's cool that Scorpio Sky just signed a new, like, 5-year deal with AEW. And, he's very solid at the stuff he does, but I totally agree that he tends to kind of surround himself with people that outshine him.
Yeah, like, to be honest, I would rather see Christopher Daniels still going, but I'm not going just very quickly. Christopher Daniels still working in Impact because he was returning to Impact, and then I didn't hear very much.
Yeah, he's still there. I think, you see, it's so convoluted in that, once again, Impact would be its own podcast with us, but, like, it's so convoluted that, like, you have Moose as the world champion. You have Josh Alexander, who got screwed out of the title. And then you have Christopher Daniels kind of on the outside looking in, being like, I want to win the Impact World title because I never won it before. So, like, I think he'll eventually get a world title match, but he's kind of also more or less in the background because of what Moose and Josh Alexander and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Because he had all that hype when he first debuted, and then nobody said anything since. So I just thought, oh yeah, when AEW immediately start working with Impact for the foreseeable future, you must have gone back to AEW, but I guess not.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is for all that. Like, I think Christopher Daniels is actually, like, best suited for Impact right now. But I also don't know the extent of the agreement with Impact and AEW, because it seems like things are kind of on hold between those companies at the moment. Like, I don't think the door's closed by any means. I just don't think there's any, like, big plans in the works at the moment. So it's kind of hard to know.
So let's move on to the next match, because we spent a bit too long on that one, I think. So so the next one I want to speak about is Pac and Cody versus Andrade and Malachi Black.
Oh yeah, you want my thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Love Cody Rhodes, man, he's the best. We have Pac. I think the story has been a lot of fun. I mean, it's interesting how this has worked out, because Pac and Cody make no sense as a team, and Malachi and Andrade really don't make any sense as a team either, but they've become allies based on common enemies. I personally would have preferred this to be a 4-way match, like just a 4-person, all of them for themselves type thing. But I think this is going to be really solid. Like, just got added to the show yesterday. But there's been a lot of buildup between, the 4 of them. And in particular, Malachi and Cody, their trilogy, and then Andrade and Pac, they've had at least two matches against each other that were both really good. So I think this will be a really, really solid match. And it's a hard one to predict. But, like, I'm going to say Malachi Black and Andrade win. But I could really see it going either way. How do you feel about this one, Anthony? And I'm sure you're thrilled to see Cody Rhodes, because I know you're a big fan.
You know what? As you know, I do like on Cody a lot. But I would rather watch Cody than somebody like Jericho, so I don't mind Cody.
My 2 favorite wrestlers. You're like, yeah, I could really go without either of these guys.
We're going back to this match. As I said in the early one for Luchasaurus, and as I said earlier, I think AEW needs to learn when to leave things alone. And after this match, I want them to leave these four guys alone for a while. And we've had so many matches between obviously they've never been in a match together before, but we've seen so many combinations of these four guys. I'm like, can we move on to somebody else now? Somebody else now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then of course, yeah, because like you said, they did do Cody and Andrade just the other week, and FTR got involved. So like, yeah, we've seen a lot of this like between the four of them. I would like to see them kind of go all their own separate ways after this as well. I don't think the Andrade and Malachi Black alliance is going to last very long. I don't think anyone's going to necessarily turn on anybody else, but I think they'll kind of like go their own ways too, because Malachi Black has been talking a lot about this House of Black concept, and if they're going to add more people to it, like Brody King is the one that really stands out for me. You know, they're PWG tag team champions together. He's going to be available now from Ring of Honor. Like, so I could see the House of Black doing its own thing completely after this. And Malachi and Cody will always be linked to some degree. Like, that's a match they can come back to 6 months from now, a year from now, and they can pick right back up where they left off. But who do you have as your actual prediction in this one?
My actual prediction is probably gonna, I would predict, for some reason I think it'll be Malachi Black and Andrade for some reason. I've got no logical reason behind it. It's just a random guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like, I just feel like they need to. They have an opportunity here with Malachi Black, I think, to be a really, really big deal for them. And even though he's lost to Cody the one time, like, he's still been really, really protected. So I'm kind of in the camp of like Malachi only losing when it's like completely necessary right now. So that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like Malachi and Andrade gain more from winning than Cody and Pac would.
I just speaking on the partnership of Malachi Black and Andrade, yeah. I just think it's a bit weird to get. Obviously, we all know that they're really good friends, and obviously they're linked because of Trinidad. But obviously, she decided to go back to WWE. So at this time, it feels like, okay, unless you know the real life friendship between the two. On AEW TV, it comes across a bit weird and a bit random.
I agree. I totally agree.
But just speaking about Brody King, obviously, Ring of Honor is still running Final Battle and things like that. So when do you think Brody King might be coming in?
I'm not sure, because I do think Ring of Honor is going to let talent like start trying to take bookings like ASAP. Like, I think that as long as they have a commitment from Brody King to be at Final Battle, I think they might let him start showing up other places as soon as like right now. I could be wrong about that, but you know, that's the thing with the position Ring of Honor's in. They really have no like leverage in any of this. So like, if Brody King goes to them and he's like, hey, look, I know AEW is interested. They want to bring me in for a thing with Malachi. I promise you, I'll sign whatever you want me to sign. Like, I'll be at Final Battle, but like, I need to be on AEW TV ASAP. Like, I think Ring of Honor would probably let guys like that probably do that.
How many members would you like to see at the House of Black? Would you like it to be a total just a tag team, or don't you know?
Yeah, it really depends on how they do it. It'd be cool to see like a big, like, kind of goes hand in hand. You know, if someone like Bray Wyatt like might be a good addition to something like that. But even if he isn't, the reason I bring him up is because I thought the Wyatt family in the WWE, like the original version with Harper, Rowan, and Bray. I thought there was so much potential with that because obviously, like, eventually they got Danielson and they got Strowman and stuff. But like, I felt like there was a real opportunity to create like a large group, like an actual cult that followed like the message of Bray Wyatt, like a lot of people, like 10 plus members if they could. And I think that'd be a cool concept for Malachi Black if he could like corrupt the minds of like all these people into like joining his cult basically. And so it's one of those things you got to kind of go one or the other. You either have to keep it like 3 people or you got to go all in with like 10 plus, I feel like.
I personally want it to be like a proper cult where, as you say, controlling people's mind by mind games, allowing people like, you know, I don't know if you remember. Do you know when CM Punk became the new leader of the Nexus? He had them do South. What do you call it? South.
Yeah, he was like hitting Wyatt with Husky Harris at the time with like kendo sticks and stuff, like to like almost like beat them into the gang kind of.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to put forward. I think that would be really good for Malachi. I don't know how to word it properly, so thank you for that.
Oh sure, yeah, and I think it'd be a really cool idea. Maybe if like someone like Lee Johnson joined the House of Black, a guy who's like pretty much just like pure baby face, Nightmare Factory, trained by Cody's underling, Cody's his mentor, all this stuff. Like maybe Malachi can get in his head. And the next time we see Lee Johnson, like his hair looks different, like half his face is painted or something, or like, and he can like, if he can corrupt the people close to Cody, especially, I think that could be really interesting.
And obviously, because we all know the law with Malachi Black's eye. So do you think when somebody joins him, he will destroy the eye so that they like him?
Maybe that'd be cool. I mean, it's because that's like a story within a story with his eye, because like the makeup keeps getting bigger around his eye. Like you can see like there's like an ongoing transformation happening with him. And I think that'd be interesting. Like you join his cult and he pops your eye out of your face, and like that's how you get into the group or something. I mean, like that'd be pretty nuts.
The last thing I want to say on this, I've mentioned, I can't remember whether I mentioned on TV why are Malachi Black and Andrade together. It's just a case of if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you just have to find out. Or if they're given the reasoning AEW story in the AEW canon.
I think it's kind of like what you said. If you know, you know. I think that's pretty much how they treated it.
Yeah, just a bit weird for me. Like in AEW character wise, it's just a bit weird, but I get it obviously.
Yeah, I mean, well, let me put it this way: I prefer them doing that rather than like Rey Mysterio just like having his eye again. Like with like no, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like at least Malachi like kept that thing going, because like the last time we saw him, that's what his eye looked like. If he would have popped up in AEW without it, nobody would have complained, because it's like everyone would have understood that he changed companies, he never lost his eye and all this stuff. Like it's fine. But the fact that little added detail to like the longtime fans, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, but what I was speaking about, I was mainly speaking about the partnership between Andrade and Black.
Oh yeah, that too. That I think that's kind of if you know, you know, and then on top of it, because yeah, there's this link with Zelina there that only the hardcore fans would know about, and then and I think it's really, like I said earlier, it's like it's a scenario of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing, like just have common enemies, and that's pretty much I think kind of how it's been explained. Yeah,
the best way to sum it up. Have allies but don't have friends, if you know what I mean. It's like a bit like have allies but don't have friends, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
So so moving on, can I do with it? So moving on to the final of the AEW World Title Tournament. First thing first, all the best to John Moxley, and I'm glad to get now that he needs. So moving on to the match, Miro versus Bryan Danielson. So I personally think Miro's gonna win. I know a lot of people think Bryan Danielson's gonna win, but I personally think Miro will be better first challenger for Hangman.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, that's a really good line of thinking. You know, honestly, if I was doing this, like, if I was making my prediction based on like real logic, like long-term logic with what you just said, I think Miro makes the most sense for exactly that reason. He's a heel. He's been super protected. His only loss is to Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Like he looked great. And I think that, like, I was never a big fan of Miro in the WWE. I just felt he was a bit too generic and stuff. And I thought that Aiden English was a big reason he got over. And not enough people were giving Aiden English credit for that. But Miro in AEW, once again, I felt the same way. I didn't like the teaming with Kip Sabian, the whole best man thing. I was like, I don't get it with this guy. I don't understand why. But then when they flipped him and like he left that group and he focused on the TNT title, ever since then, now I'm like, this guy rules. Like, this is what I've been waiting for years out of this guy. And I'd be fine with him winning this match over Danielson. That's something I wouldn't have said even maybe 6 months ago. I would have been like, you're going to have Rusev beat Bryan Danielson in AEW. I'd be like, get the hell out of here. Like, I do not want to see that. But now my mind's been totally changed. I think him versus Hangman for the title would make a lot of sense. But that all being said, I am still going to take Bryan Danielson for the win, mainly because he is Bryan Danielson and he still has unfinished business in the world title mix. And with the way AEW does stuff, they could potentially do something because they haven't announced when they're going to get the world title match. So for all we know, they might do like a big Dynamite or something where it's Danielson versus Hangman, but Hangman's first real challenger is still going to be a heel at the next pay-per-view or something, because we're going to have 3 months or whatever until the next pay-per-view. So I'm going to take Danielson, but I think Miro is a really good prediction though.
I understand that, but I can't remember. It only made Dynamite coming up. Obviously, I doubt it before the end of the year. When is the first pay-per-view Dynamite? Has that been announced yet?
I don't think so. I'll be live at Dynamite on December 1st though, because it's right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm hoping they do something big there. I don't think that they'll do like a big world title match there, but like that's my own personal bias is like hopefully the beginning of December they'll do something cool in 3 weeks. But I don't think they've actually announced like a winter is coming type thing or anything. So
and my other concern is obviously Hangman's been a bit by the clarity, but I just think having a babyface versus maybe as your first defense, I just think he could have the potential. He could have the potential for it to unintentionally turn somebody that you don't want to turn. But maybe I'm just thinking. Maybe I'm just overthinking it.
Well, no, I think that's a valid point, though. And we also wouldn't necessarily know if this would be his first title defense either. Like, for all we know, Hangman could defend a few times, and then, maybe, it's Danielson, once Hangman's a little more established as the champion. But I do totally understand what you're saying. Like, wouldn't that be cruddy if, they just built Hangman for 3 years as the champion babyface of the company, and then he gets booed the second he goes against Danielson. That would be or vice versa. That wouldn't be good. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't think he'll get booed specifically. I just think I did think a lot of the crowd would potentially side with Danielson over Hangman.
Yeah, I think that's totally possible. And that's the whole other thing too, with when it comes to like the main event, which I know we'll get to in a second, but like, I firmly believe Hangman's winning the title on the pay-per-view, but like there is a little bit of doubt, a little bit, only because like Danielson is so super over and he's operating on Danielson might be the best wrestler in the world right now in any company for my money. Like, so like he's you might have to pivot some ideas that like, Adam Cole's around now and Adam Cole is killing it. I mean, they got a lot. CM Punk is still a really big star that they're clearly still trying to build on. Like, and so once again, like I totally expect Hangman to win the title, but like I could see them maybe go another direction sooner than we thought because of how over guys like Bryan Danielson are.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I was in my own little world there. My apologies.
You're okay.
So yeah, so as I said, I'm picking Miro personally, but we were serious, right? I think this is the first prediction where we did that, so it should be quite interesting.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we'll see who comes out on top on that one. I don't think there's a bad choice there though. Like, I mean, either of them I could totally see winning. But I'm just leaning Danielson, but that'd be huge for Miro to get that win for sure.
And another reason to my liking, I think it was supposed to be Moxley that would have beaten Bryan in my opinion. So I think they want to do. I think they would. I don't think they would deviate from that plan too much. But who knows? Maybe they would.
Yeah, and I understand that logic as well. It's kind of similar to, and I by the way, I do think a lot of people expected Jon Moxley to win the tournament. So like that all totally makes sense. You would kind of stick with the plan and have it be Miro instead. But like, remember, it kind of reminds me of Strikeforce when Daniel Cormier won the heavyweight Grand Prix. Yeah. Like he wasn't even in the tournament and then he won the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of get some vibes like that from it too. But yeah, I'm with you. I totally see your line of thinking. And your line of thinking makes a lot of sense. Like I could see them going that way. I mean, also I want to throw it out there. For all we know, like if Miro beats Bryan Danielson, this is also probably the right time to debut Lana. Like if Lana came out and like hit Danielson with like her heel or something, like just look like her shoe off and like hit him in the face with like her heel or something, then Miro put him in the game over and like went all the way back with it or something. Like maybe that would be a good way to like introduce Lana, because I don't think a lot of us want to see her wrestle, but I think she adds a lot to him like on screen.
I would rather see Danielson win than have that finish, to be honest. I just don't think Miro needs help from Lana to win that. You can still bring her in like a manager, but I don't think he needs her out to win matches personally. I think that's a bit too like WWE style of booking. You've been a killer all the time, and now you need a wife to help you.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like personally, I'd prefer just a clean match, like 1-on-1, someone wins, someone loses, no interference. And it would be a very WWE thing to do. I'm just saying, like, if they were to do something like that on this show, this would probably be the way to do it. But I'm just hoping for a good match. I mean, that'll probably be one. I mean, all these matches are pretty damn stacked, but like that, Miro and Danielson does really stand out as one of the potentially best matches on the show.
And I just want to add this bit in. I really like the way AEW handles the Jon Moxley situation. Obviously, all my support goes to Jon Moxley, but I think AEW handled it with class.
Yeah, very. I'm with you. I think I'm happy that Moxley is going and getting help.
Yeah.
Selfishly, as a fan, like I hope he's able to return by the GCW Hammerstein show, because like that's a huge show and he's the champion of the company. So like I'm really hoping that he's back by then. But like if he isn't, his health is more important, obviously. That goes without saying. Like we need him to get healthy and get better. And I don't want him to rush his way back in or anything like that. But I think AEW has handled it really well. I think Tony Khan has handled it great. And I think it's interesting because I'd imagine we're going to get less of the Hangman being a drunk on TV stuff, because they're probably going to try to want to be like a little kind of sensitive to the Moxley situation. So they might have to pivot a little bit with Hangman's character potentially. But I mean, they got to do what they got to do, because at the end of the day, Moxley's health is the most important thing here for sure.
Yeah. And I know you said that selfishly as a fan, you would I don't want it. You would hope you would do that with the GCW job. But to be honest with you, mate, if he came back and just did TV style, I would not have a problem with that. Because at the end of the day, I would rather him be healthy, not have to do hardcore stuff and basically kill his body.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it's also something where like I'm not gonna sit here and say like hardcore deathmatch wrestling like causes people to have these kind of issues, but like I think it is potentially more likely that you might turn to substances when you're having matches that involve, getting cut open all over your body with glass and going through tables and getting thrown on the floor and like all these things. Like you really, really beat your body up, and that might be a reason to like, drink a little alcohol to kind of kill the pain, take that one painkiller, because like, and then like you never know. So I think there's more risk in doing that kind of stuff. Once again, I'm not going to say like that for sure there's like a correlation there, but I think kind of like logically thinking about it, like if you have like a solid match that you don't really get too beat up on versus a match where you put your body through complete hell, I think you might be a little more, it might be more likely that you might kind of turn to some stuff to help with the pain when you're doing crazy death matches and stuff like that.
At the end of the day, it's all up to Moxley and his family and what he wants to do and what they advise him to do. At the end of the day, the most important thing. So moving on to the main event, Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page for the.
We got one more, Anthony. We got Darby and MJF.
Thank you. Apologies. So Darby versus MJF. I'm really enjoying this rivalry. I really like their promo from a couple weeks ago, and their brawl that followed it.
I love that. Yeah, I really loved when Darby split the crowd and then did the running clothesline over the barricade. I thought that was incredible. I think that the two of these guys are going to be out to steal the show. I think this is going to be the match of the night. I know that's a bold thing. I mean, granted, Hangman and Omega will probably be the match of the night. Like, I mean, but if we're taking that, it's kind of like when Ariel Helwani does the people's main event choices. Like, you don't pick the main event, anything else under. I think MJF and Darby are going to be out to steal the show. I think they're going to have match of the night. I think it's going to be interesting to see if Wardlow turns on MJF or they tease a turn. And then, of course, you have Sting with Darby and kind of like that Sting army that they've kind of shown, like people coming out dressed like him and stuff. So, like, and this is just, regardless of who wins, they're both set. They're both made men in AEW. Like, MJF and Darby are both going to be main eventers going forward no matter what. It doesn't really matter who wins or loses from the perspective of like the loser is not going to be hurt or like drop down any levels. It just means the winner is just closer to a title shot. And these are two pillars of the company, and these are guys that are young and hungry and know what this show looks like. They know what they're up against. They know there's Miro and Danielson, and there's Hangman and Omega, and there's Punk and Kingston and all this big stuff. and they know like we got to go out there and we got to stand out. Like we're going to show people why when you talk about AEW main eventers, you talk Moxley and Danielson and Omega and Hangman and stuff, but you also got to be talking MJF and Darby Allin when you talk about those guys. My prediction's MJF. Because I'm not, if Wardlow turns on him, I'm going Darby, but like I'm assuming Wardlow won't turn just yet, or vice versa. Like I don't think they'll split up just yet. And I think MJF versus Hangman Page would be awesome as an AEW world title feud. So I think MJF's just a little bit closer to that world title right now, and that's why I'm going with him. But Darby losing this match is not going to hurt his career at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think MJF needs to win this matchup because I know MJF can take a loss, but in his feud with Jericho, I understand why Jericho won with the stipulation that they put onto it. Yeah, but I really think MJF should have won the final match. I know he beat him 3 or 4 times, but my point is, I think MJF needs to win here.
Yeah, he needs to win this feud because, like you said, even though he beat Jericho multiple times, Jericho technically won the feud at the end of the day, and MJF needs to get back on that winning track and back in the conversation for the world title. So I completely agree. You have MJF as well?
Yeah, and I do think Wardlow will be turning babyface. Well, not really babyface, but I do think he'll be turning on MJF because obviously if the viewers saw Dynamite, they saw Wardlow literally beat the piss out of with a user. I can never say it's low apologies. So yeah, I do think Wardlow will be turning on MJF sooner rather than later. I don't think he'll be on this show. I'm just as a thought here. I personally think it'll be the first big like pay-per-view Dynamites of the year. That's when they can turn on him.
Yeah, I could see something like that. It gives me kind of vibes of like Batista turning on Triple H.
Yeah.
Like, which was done really well. Like because they did it at the right time, and that was on TV also. That happened on a Raw and everything. So I'm with you, Anthony. I think there's a lot of parallels there, and in the best ways possible, because I also think that if and when MJF becomes the AEW World Champion, because he will be the champion, it's just a matter of like when they want to do it, if they're going to wait like a year or if it's going to be sooner or later. But I think one of MJF's first big title feuds being against Wardlow could be really interesting.
Let me put this thing out because obviously we got Punk, we got Brian, and they're all in their 40s or even older in some cases. And MJF is 25. Do you think they're going to give all of them the belt first and then give it to MJF, or do you think it'd be Punk MJF at the win out 2022?
That's a really good question. That's really hard to know because it just depends on their timeline for this stuff. But I do know that there are a lot of people that do feel like because you do have Danielson and you do have Punk and those kind of guys, and they are in their 40s, up there in age, because they're both in their 40s, Punk and yeah. So like I could see those guys getting the belt before MJF, like doing it while they still can, because like you're still gonna have plenty of time with MJF. Like he might wrestle for another 20 years for AEW for all. I mean, like he's just getting started. So I could see them maybe, giving the ball to Punk or Danielson or both of those guys first potentially. But I also think there's like, that's a real interesting dynamic of like MJF's the world champion and Bryan Danielson's the challenger. Like that's something you really wouldn't ever expect to see, but that would be really interesting to me, something like that.
Because a lot of people have been saying when's Punk gonna turn heel, when's Punk gonna turn heel, and I don't think he'll turn heel. I don't think he'll turn heel soon because I think they want to do MJF versus CM Punk. Obviously, CM Punk has to be the babyface in that feud, and I think the one that I personally want that feud to be for the belt. So I don't know. Then I'd say that I would have MJF win the belt sooner rather than later, so Punk can beat him for the belt, and then MJF can beat Punk back for the belt a couple months after that.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then the other one that makes a lot of sense, once again, we don't know because of what's going on with Moxley, like how much they're going to want to do Hangman drinking and stuff. But like the obvious feud there would be CM Punk being straight edge and turning heel because, you know, all the fans are cheering this drunk cowboy Hangman Page. He doesn't understand why they're cheering him when Punk's straight edge and you should be listening to him, but instead you're all cheering this drunk. Like, I think that's a really interesting story as well. So, but I'm with you, Anthony. I think they'll probably take a minute before they turn Punk heel, but they definitely have to do it at some point. Like, there's way more money in Punk as a heel than a babyface, in my opinion.
But I guarantee if Punk did beat MJF for the belt, you'll get these people online saying a former WWE guy going on an AEW guy, and I don't think I would mind that in this case, because I think MJF would have a long reign anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I could totally see this all going down like that as well.
Yeah, so let's bring on when the sound is somewhere, because I forgot to bring it up earlier. Do you know when they had the ball in the crowd? I love seeing the guy in the wheelchair in the front row. I thought that was really cool. Just as a quick side note.
Yeah, there you go.
So moving on to the main event, Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Champion. I personally, Hangman needs to win the belt. He needs to win the belt.
I agree. I mean, this has been a 3-year build. Like, you got to just do it. I think you lose. Now, granted, you have options now that you didn't just a couple months ago. Like, you have options like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole. But I think AEW would lose some goodwill with their fan base if they didn't have Hangman win. And it's just, sometimes in wrestling, you just got to do what's the predictable thing that just makes the most sense. That's the best story. And so I'm with you, Anthony. Hangman has to win this weekend. And I think a big part of the story is going to be Hangman kicking out of the one-winged angel. And if he kicks out of that move, he has to win the match. Like, they have built that move up as so protected that, like, I think the only person to ever kick out of it is Kota Ibushi in New Japan. Yeah. So if Hangman kicks out of that, Hangman has to win the match. So I'm with you. And I mean, Kenny has done what he needed to do with this belt. Like, he's had a year-long reign, basically. He can disappear, or not necessarily disappear. I think that Kenny at some point in the near future will turn babyface and kind of become the best bout machine again and try to get back to on the same side as the fans. But right now, he has done a great job of being a very unlikable heel, very over the top, very paranoid and protective of his title. And there's just no way around it. This has been built for literally the first, I know I showed you when we talked before, but the background of my phone is the All Elite Wrestling logo. And I've had it there ever since the BTE on New Year's Eve episode when they announced the company for the first time they showed the logo, and the first person to show that logo on his phone was Hangman Page. And ever since then, the first AEW press conference saying you want to be the first ever AEW champion. I mean, we've been the tag team with him and Kenny, the incredible matches, the story that came off of that, him losing to Kenny in the finals last year for a title shot and all that. Like, Hangman has to win, because what you don't want happening is what companies like Impact Wrestling do consistently. they've done it. Ring of Honor's done this as well. Ring of Honor did this with Tyler Black / Seth Rollins. Impact's done this with multiple world champions.
Yeah.
Where they wait too long. They lose and then they lose a little too much. And then by the time they actually win the title, nobody really cares anymore. Like, people care right now about Hangman winning. Like, you got to pull the trigger, in my opinion. It's got to be Hangman.
I don't understand the people that say build more heat. I would hate Kenny Omega people hate you.
Yeah, I there was something else I was just about to say about that too. Geez, I just totally lost it. But
what about Don Callis?
No, but I think he totally adds to Kenny's character. I love the pairing there. Yeah, darn. It wasn't anything super important. There was something. It was based on something you said, and I was gonna go back to it, but yeah. I mean, it's got to be Hangman, right? Like, it has to be.
And as you know, I watched your show that you know on Wednesday that you knew. We've Dougie. I forgot the name.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And he was a bit unsure about Hangman winning the belt. And I can understand why he would be a bit unsure, because up until last night, they didn't really have the main meat to the feud up until last night, if you know what I mean. Like, the meat was not there.
Yeah, and they did a pretty good job last night with Don Callis hitting him with the camera and him bleeding, and then Kenny signing his name in blood on the contract and all that. Like, it's on. And that's the thing too with Hangman during that contract signing. He basically got on the mic and was like, there's not a whole lot left to say. Like, it's finally time to do this. And what I was going to say before, I just remembered, I would have been okay with them doing the title change at Revolution instead of Full Gear if they would have done like Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson for the world title on this show or something. Like, I think they could have stretched the Hangman story to Revolution, but where we're at now, it's like, it's booked, it's happening this Saturday. So like, what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see Hangman lose to Kenny again and then Hangman beat Kenny in a few months. Like, if you're going to have Hangman be the one to beat Kenny, like, now's the time to do it. Don't have him lose again before you finally pull the trigger on him.
And let's just say if AEW decides to stick with Bray, if they decide to stick with Kenny, I don't want them to start for a whole year.
I agree. But the problem with that, right, is like, you got to rebuild Hangman again for the next year. Like, they've already done that. Like, there were people that were kind of ready for Hangman to be in this position a year ago, and they basically like stretched it out another full year. So it's like, I just don't think, because then also, like, who knows by a year from now, like, if they decide to finally pull the trigger on Hangman a year from now, for instance, for all we know, we're living in a world in AEW that's got Kyle O'Reilly and Kevin Steen and Bray Wyatt and who knows, Charlotte Flair, that'd be more on the women's side. But like, the point is, there's going to be a lot of stars, I think, that are going to continue to come into AEW. So like, Hangman needs to be established right now as on the same level as all these guys. Go ahead.
And you don't want to keep giving the audience blue balls.
Exactly. You do not want to give your audience blue balls, like, which is exactly what they'd be doing. You're totally right. If Hangman lost this match, everyone's going to leave the show feeling like they have blue balls, and no one's going to like that. So they need to do the opposite of giving. I'm not going to say what that is, but the opposite of getting blue balls, which should happen at the end of the show.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Ask the Good Brothers. They'll tell you about it.
let me just put this here. What if Kenny wins and you have somebody like Okada come out? Do you think it would still be like, okay, this is great and everything, but I'm still a bit disappointed? Or do you think that would subsidize the crowd disappointment?
That's an incredible question, because I think a large part of the audience would get the blue balls, but there would be still a pretty big percentage of the crowd that would like completely forget about the Hangman thing immediately and be like, we're getting Okada versus Kenny on AEW. Like, so I think the bad outweighs the good there. Like, I think it'd be too many people getting blue balls, because what you don't want happening is like people getting super invested in this with Hangman, and then like they don't even know about Okada, and they're like, and they just like kind of give up on AEW because they've been waiting for 3 years for Hangman to win the title, and they don't really care about what's going on in New Japan. You know what I mean?
And let's be honest, if they do Okada versus Kenny, or whoever the champion is, gonna go to a time limit draw, because I don't think New Japan want their guy to lose on American TV. With they and AEW won't want their guy. Well, AEW probably won't care, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, especially when it comes to guys like Okada and Tanahashi and Naito and those kind of like the guys that are like super established in New Japan. So yeah, I'm with you. And then also, just this is off topic, but Shibata looks like he's coming back, and like he's one of my favorite Japanese wrestlers ever. Like, I'm a huge Shibata fan, and I think it's really, really cool. Like, if he can come back and they can get him in AEW for anything, I think it would be absolutely incredible. So I want to see more New Japan crossover if they can do it.
Even Daniel Bryan would be amazing. They could make people fly, because obviously they've had similar stories, and the way they could both sell, they could make people really worried. Like, because we all know what Brian Danielson knows, that we care about him, and we don't want him to hurt himself. So he played up of that, and I think having them two together in one match would be a storytelling dream.
I completely agree. That would be, I mean, you're so on the money about that. Like, because both of them, the similar career injury type stuff, like having to be out for years with, brain related injury and stuff like that. And if they went out there sort of like headbutting each other and were selling it like they were like actually hurt, people would get really invested and really worried for those guys. So yeah, you're totally right. I would love to see Shibata and Danielson. Obviously, everyone wants to see Jonathan Gresham and Danielson. I think it's just a matter of time before we see Gresham in AEW. And then there was one other guy or someone I was going to bring up with Danielson. Oh, I was going to say is, do you think that there's a chance for any like big debuts on the show? Like, do you think Bray Wyatt shows up on Full Gear?
I personally think Wyndham Rotunda will be doing films for a bit. And to be honest, I would rather see him doing that than come to AEW straight away. Because I think Edwards, wait until AEW needs you. Don't go there to be another person on their roster. If you know what I mean. AEW doesn't need Bray Wyatt right now.
I totally agree. And you want it to be special when people debut. I just imagine that we'll get some debut. I mean, the last show we had Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson back to back. So they got to do at least one big debut, I feel like. Maybe it isn't Wyndham, but I feel like someone's going to have to pop up on this show, because that's kind of what the fans expect now out of AEW pay-per-views, is that you're going to get at least one big surprise.
Well, you're obviously not going to get anybody like Keith Lee. Obviously, he got the 60 days no compete or whatever it is. Is it 60 or is it 90?
I'm not positive. I think he was a 90. Some are going to be 30, some are 90, but sometimes they can get out of those like and stuff. So like I'm honestly not 100% sure, but it's very unlikely he'd be out in time to be able to do this show. Yeah.
But my point is that there's nobody at the moment that I'm dying to see in AEW. Like, I need to see them this weekend. I'm happy with the roster at the moment.
Same here. I will say this though. I think that of all the people that got released recently by the WWE, and not that they'd be available this soon, but I think Ember Moon is the best person that they could bring over into AEW from all those releases.
If they don't bring Athena or Keith Lee into AEW, something is really wrong. Or somebody like Jonathan Gray, there's something really wrong in AEW's recruitment process.
Yeah, or there's something really wrong going on behind the scenes with those wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like something's up somewhere if those two don't show up.
And if you contract them and if they don't want to come in, then you please, why don't Tony Khan just say we contracted them and they just didn't want to come in. They just didn't want to come in right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that makes total sense. Like because he could totally just say that, like, and that would take the heat off of everybody.
Because then it would look like AEW trying to recruit some new talent.
Yeah, for sure.
And to be honest, I've never really found Emma Moon that entertaining, to be honest. But I think it will be a good addition to the AEW roster.
Yeah, she kind of floundered as like a character, unfortunately. But my thing with her is like she got a presence about her and a look about her and her finisher. Like as long as she can keep doing that top rope stunner, she'll always stay over to some degree. So, but I'm with you. Like but that all being said, none of these people could realistically show up this weekend. Outside of maybe like a Wyndham because he's been gone for a minute. So
yeah, but I really not gonna see it, man. You probably have heard, but he's doing a movie, so that's probably going to be his main priority for most of the early part of 2022, and then he'll probably come in the summer if he does come in with his new horror gimmick or some other gimmick.
Yeah, we'll see. But you never say never, though, man. When it comes to AEW, like they flew Chris Jericho in on a private plane. Like he did a Fozzy concert and then showed up on pay-per-view like that same night within a few hours. So like you never know. But I totally understand what you're saying though, for sure.
I really don't think there's any big major acquisition that you could get. So like that big of an impact. It'd be like, oh, this person's in AEW, cool. Then let's move on with the rest of the show, if you know what I mean. Unless you had some sort of segment with Okada where you came out and saved somebody, but that would be a bit crap, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. They got a lot of options, but I will say this: I do expect some sort of big surprise. Like I don't know necessarily exactly who it'll be, but something. This is kind of that's what the expectation is from the fan base, and Tony Khan knows that. So, but I'm looking forward to it, man.
As somebody from the UK, I'm hoping they announce the UK either two or one show in the UK, because I would love to go to that show just to see what it's like at the AEW show.
Yeah, I hope you get to attend live soon, because it really is. Like, I prefer indie wrestling, like live. Like, I like going to a bar with like 100 other people and it's just a bar and a ring, or they're going to like a high school gym, like where there's, I like doing that so much more than going to like a giant stadium or like an arena. But when it comes to AEW shows, it's like going to a giant indie show. Like it's such a different vibe and a different energy than most of the other, big mainstream shows that you can go see. You would absolutely love it, man.
And the UK crowd make WWE show good. So that's what they can do with a good show.
Yeah, that's very true. And I will say this, man, like, because, I review NXT UK for Fightful every week, and they have a really good show. Like, there's a lot of really good talent there. Just nobody talks about it. It's kind of unfortunate, but they have solid matches, solid stories, and I mean, guys like Ilya Dragunov and Tyler Bate and A-Kid and Noam Dar and stuff. Like, I mean, they got a lot of really good, Walter, of course. They got a lot of really good talent there.
I don't blame people for not watching it, to be honest. Because WWE have told them that they don't care about it. So why should I care about it as a viewer? Yes, they are really good wrestlers, but there's a lot of good wrestlers out there. So I would rather watch a show where the people feel like they're not into the show than just some D-list show that the actual company don't really care about. All it is just the UK independent scene. It's not as strong as it was.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with NXT UK. There's a lot of that reasoning. Like, they poach so much of the talent.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's the only reason it exists is so they can control the UK indie scene and so it doesn't get too big. Free sheets.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened for sure.
So the last thing I want to say, Impact Wrestling, as we've already spoken about, yeah, there's a lot of problems. But do you think it's because when it comes to people's interest, they've just been around for so long, they've just overstayed their welcome, if you know what I mean, as a brand.
Yeah, I think that plays into it. I think that's definitely a factor. Because there's also a lot of people that kind of view Impact / like NWA TNA, whatever you want to call it, as like a cockroach that just won't die. Like, because they've been saying since like 2002, 2003 and stuff, like it won't last another year. Like, there's no way. And then like 2004 rolls around, 2005. Next thing you know, you're in 2021 and like the company's still around. And like, but I honestly think the biggest issue they have as a company, and I talked about it a little bit before, is they're caught between a rock and a hard place, but they don't do themselves any favors with this. So basically, the fear I think that Impact Wrestling has is they tend to not push the right people, because I think that Impact is assuming they're going to leave. So like they don't fully commit to a lot of the better talent, especially the younger talent that isn't really known on a mainstream level. I think that a lot of the time they are hesitant to really push those talents because they just assume like, well, their contract's coming up on this or that day or month or whatever, so we're not going to have access to them after that. They're just assuming everyone's going to wind up leaving for somewhere better whenever their contracts are up. But what we've learned recently in like last year or so, Moose, everybody thought was going to leave Impact and sign somewhere else, and he re-signed. Jordan Grace, same exact thing. Everyone, because she was highly scouted for all the other companies. Like, I know for sure there was interest in AEW and WWE for Jordan Grace, and she stayed with Impact. So like there's talents that are willing to stay for various reasons. Like the money's good. You don't have to wrestle that often. Like, you still get a lot of exposure. You still have the potential of wrestling on AEW and New Japan and stuff with the Forbidden Door. So it's actually a pretty good gig for a lot of these wrestlers. And you get paid in most cases significantly more than you would on the indie circuit. So there's a lot of upside of being a young talent, especially in Impact Wrestling. But the problem with Impact is they take so long to finally pull the trigger on certain people. It's that's why I'm so dead set on someone like Heyman winning over the weekend, is for these reasons. Is like, there's all these people that they had before. Like Impact, pretty much if you look at AEW's roster right now and a lot of WWE's roster, all these people at one point or another worked for Impact Wrestling and left for various reasons. But like, if AEW, or if Impact rather, would like really commit and really, if you looked at the roster right now and you were like, all right, we want to keep Willie Mack, we want to keep Ace Austin, we want to keep Chris Bay, we want to keep Trey Miguel, we want to keep, and they kind of go down the list of like their young talent that has not been on other major TV before. I thought of Lucha Underground for some of them a little bit. Josh Alexander is another good example. Like, if you push these people properly and you make them main eventers and you pay them well and you creatively fulfill them by getting big pushes and title matches and stuff, I think they're way more likely to stay. But I think that their mindset is they're going to leave no matter what, so we're not going to give them a big push. And what that does is it creates this no man's land of like Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards and like these guys who like you've just seen over and over and over again doing the same thing, but they're the ones who keep staying, so they're the ones who keep getting put in the main event. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like for instance, Moose is just now getting the world title, but he should have been their world champion over a year ago. Like, you know.
But being brutally honest, yeah, how many people already after Moose? WWE aren't going to touch you for obvious reasons.
Right.
And AEW are pretty much the same way, to be honest. So, unfortunately for Moose, I think Impact is going to be a ceiling unless somebody comes in with a big money offer from a new promotion that's going to get started. I'm not saying there is, by the way, I'm just saying. Like if somebody came in and started a big promotion with big money, I think they would get moved. When it comes to AEW and WWE, they obviously not want to touch. They obviously not want to touch him with a hard goal. And with that right or wrong, it's up to you. It's up to your own personal opinion. But I can't blame them. Can you?
No, I totally understand where you're coming from too. Like but I guess so. Jordan Grace would be the better example, I guess, of someone who did have options and decided to stay.
Yeah.
But my point with Moose was more so like they didn't give him the world title because his contract was coming up. So they were fearful to some degree that he wasn't going to stay. Now, granted, like it's unlikely he would sign with AEW or WWE because of the out of the ring stuff. But the point is like they could have made him the Impact World Champion before his contract ever was up to begin with, and they just kept putting it off until he finally re-signed, and then they kept putting it off for another like 6 months. And now people don't really care that much that he's the champion, even though he should have been the champion for the last year, probably.
You know, when he should have been champion, when he faced Austin Aries, I think it was Slammiversary 2018. That's when he should have won the belt.
Well, yeah, and I'll say this: I think that he's gotten a lot better since then. Like, I think that his real kind of I say turning point. That's an actual name of an Impact show, but like his real kind of breakout for me was the EC3 feud. I think that after when he did that and afterwards, I was like, this is because he's not great on the microphone, but he's gotten a lot better. And he's way better in the ring now than he was a couple of years ago. Like I remember him in Ring of Honor and thinking like he had a lot of potential. He was obviously had a great look, very athletic, but he was very, very green. And now he like just looks like a guy who kicks ass in the ring. So like but I'm with you though, Anthony. Like it's been a long time coming for him as the Impact champion, and it's unfortunate they took this long. And that just kind of to answer your original question about it is I think that's what it is the fans, even when fans get invested into the show, they kind of quickly learn like, oh, the people I like they're just not gonna do anything with them. So then they just watch something else.
The people watch it I don't have it now because I don't see much hype for Impact even in a live crowd. It doesn't seem to be very high. You get a couple of people that are into it, but a lot of the fans that are there are just there to be there, if you know what I mean. And that's a bit weird to me, because you would think, because you would think, because they have a large, because they have a lot of people on social media that always support them, you would think the crowd would be big in that small venue. But it just doesn't come across like that, does it?
No, it doesn't. They're quiet. I think I talked about this with you last time we talked, but like the last Impact pay-per-view was on at the same time as the last big GCW show. And when you would mute and unmute the screens, like GCW, there's way less people at the GCW show, and they're loud and they're clapping and they're, moving. I mean, it's like it's constant noise. And then you've put on Impact, which has way more people in the audience, and it's just dead silent.
And I think we spoke about this last time, where that striker sent some commentary on at Bound for Glory.
Yeah, Eddie Edwards' entrance. Yeah, no one was singing along with his entrance. And then Matt Stryker was like, the Impact faithful, sing along with Eddie Edwards like they always do. They were trying to make it sound like it was Chris Jericho coming to the ring with Judas or something. And like, no one was singing. I mean, there was no noise. I don't know what he was talking about. And I also think this is the kind of last kind of thing I'll say about it, but like, I think they made a big mistake moving from Twitch to YouTube. I think that's hurting them too. Like, cause they finally had like an online presence that people were used to. It was a free show that you could simulcast. We used to do the simulcast for Fightful and stuff. They got really good viewership, really good responses. And it was a really digestible, easy thing to do. All you got to do is just twitch.tv or the app or whatever. Really, really easy. And now they've had to like, with no notice, like there was no notice at all. It was just one random Thursday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday. And Tuesday. It was probably Tuesday because they're on Tuesdays now. Well, no, they're on. No, I'm getting all screwed up. They were on Thursdays still, but they were on Tuesdays before.
That's not, all I'm going to say is that's sort of the problem.
Right. Yes, exactly. You forget when it's on. And then they didn't give the Twitch audience any heads up. It was just one day all of a sudden they're like, hey, you got to go to YouTube and pay $1 for it now. And granted, $1 is like nothing. Like that's totally reasonable for them to only ask for $1. But the point is, even the biggest Twitch streamers in the world, most of the time when they switch from Twitch to Facebook gaming or Twitch to YouTube gaming, there's usually a pretty significant drop off in viewership, even for the biggest Twitch streamers, which Impact Wrestling is not even close to one of those. So I think it's hard to get your whole fan base to move to a different platform and then also ask for money.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's sad. If I was owning the company, I would say scrap all the history. We started again from scratch. We can have new lineage. We can have new name and everything, and just start again and just present a different product.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Do a big reset, like the WCW Big Bang, like just start over, new lineage for the titles. I think that'd probably be a good idea. New look for the show, new graphics, new logo. Just try to completely restart it and focus on your young talent that hasn't been in the main event for the most part.
The one good thing that Impact, Tyler Valkyrie, she'll probably make a return there, so that'll be a good thing, but they're not going to win, I would assume.
Yeah, I could see her and Mia Yim potentially both back there. I could see either both potentially in AEW also, but like I think Mia Yim and Ty Valkyrie could both potentially wind up back in Impact.
I heard somebody say the other day Keith Lee's Impact, but no, not for me. I think Keith Lee's AEW bound if he wants to be. Yeah.
I agree. I think he'll have options. And I think he'd most likely choose AEW.
So thank you for coming on, mate. We've been going for nearly 2 hours, so my apologies for that.
No worries, man. I always enjoy coming on here with you. Thank you again for having me on.
No worries, mate. So thank you for watching, lovely people. And if you want to go and follow Stephen, then you can do so. Do you want to promote your stuff, Stephen? I can never remember.
Yeah, so it's at Fight Talk _ on Twitter, FIGHTTALK_. If you want to watch some great pro wrestling on independentwrestling.tv or IWTV.live, that's two different ways to get to the same spot. Use code Fight Talk, FIGHTTALK, all as one word, no spaces. Put that in the promo code spot. IWTV has like 6,000 shows from I think like 270 companies on there right now. Yeah. So it's the best $9.99 a month I think you can spend on wrestling or MMA, in my opinion. It's the best bang for your $10. So use that code. It helps support me. And all the other stuff I do, I just keep updated on Twitter. I do weekly shows with Doug, live rounds at 10 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays on the RVD Tito for Life channel. Me and Jesse Davin try to do a show once a week. She's currently in the hospital, so thoughts out to Jessie. She's dealing with a colon problem that just sounds like a giant, it just sucks.
Yeah.
So thoughts are out. She's actually texting me right now. She's got to get her colon removed, it sounds like. So like she's going through it right now. But thoughts are out to Jessie. No Degrassi Dudes episode tomorrow because SP3 is in Minnesota for Full Gear, but we'll be back next week talking Degrassi on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/fighttalk_. All the MMA stuff I do, I keep updated on Twitter, doing more MMA writing and video editing and stuff. So,
are you in a fight watch the UFC this weekend or not?
I'm not, but thank you for bringing those up. If y'all want to see the reaction for the last pay-per-view for Usman and Covington and Namajunas and Zhang, then you can check that out. That's youtube.com/Fightful. It was me, Sean Ross Sapp, Doug Bateman, and Rob Wilkins. And then this weekend, that's going to be a hell of a main event. I love that Holloway and Yair fight, but we'll be back with Fightful Fight Night watch-alongs, I believe December 11th for UFC 269, which is Oliveira and Poirier. And then the following weekend, I think, is Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. So we'll be on for that one too.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really looking forward to the UFC this weekend. I'm just not interested in the card. I'm looking forward to next weekend though. With Major Tate. Is that next weekend or is it a couple weeks? I think it's next weekend.
Yes, it is next weekend because then they have off the following weekend because it's like Christmas weekend.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the Major Tate events. So that should be good. And obviously, my best wishes to Jesse. That sounds really sucky, so I hope everything goes okay with that birth. And thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. And have a good weekend or whenever you're watching this. So thank you.